Hello and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is Lesney's Matchbox 10B Mechanical Horse and Trailer. It was produced from 1957 until 1961. This example has been painted yellow all over, covering the usually red cab and tan trailer. The red logo, which has been painted on the sides, is that of British Rail, the state-owned railway operator in the United Kingdom from 1965 to 1997. The logo remains in use by BR's privatised successor National Rail. The Scammell Scarab, on which the cab is based, was a popular freight carrier with rail companies, and its predecessor, the Scammell Mechanical Horse, had been designed for exactly that purpose, to carry rail freight in built-up areas. The Scarab was built from 1948 through to 1967. Approximately 30,000 mechanical horses of all varieties were produced by Scammell between 1934 and 1968. And here is an image of a Scammell Scarab with trailer. Scammell were a British truck and special equipment manufacturer that existed between 1921 and 1988. The company G. Scammell & Nephew had existed since the late 1800s as a coach builder. George Scammell's great-nephew, Alfred Scammell, was injured during World War I and began developing an articulated six-wheel vehicle. At the 1920 Commercial Motor Show, 50 orders were taken for the design, and production began on the 7.5-ton vehicle the same year. A new company, Scammell Lorries Limited, was formed in 1922. In 1933, Scammell purchased a three-wheel tractor unit design from the Napier Company. The Napier Company had been approached in the early 1930s by the London and North Eastern Railway, or LNER, to replace horse-drawn carriages for local haulage. The original prototype was modified and production began on the Scammell Mechanical Horse in 1934. It featured automatic trailer coupling and the single front wheel could be turned 360 degrees. It had a steel frame and a wooden cab. I think I could watch this yellow paint disperse all day long. It's kind of mesmerising. But anyway, the original mechanical horse came in two sizes, capable of carrying 3 or 6 tons. These were powered by 1125cc and 2043cc petrol units respectively. This gave the mechanical horse a road speed of around 20 miles per hour and 10 to 20 miles per gallon fuel consumption. In addition to railway companies, the mechanical horse proved popular with breweries and were used by the British Armed Forces. Such was the popularity, Scammell required a separate dedicated sales department for their mechanical horses. Here you'll note I have managed to break off a part of the axle support on the right hand side. I fixed this using a similarly sized metal washer and I show you the process here. In 1948, after a production run of 14,000 units, the mechanical horse was succeeded by the Scammell Scarab. The Scarab featured a much more rounded steel cab instead of the square wooden cab of the mechanical horse, using Bedford's O-type tooling. The name Scarab was not deemed from the scarab beetle, but instead it is a portmanteau of Scammell and Arab horse, which the mechanical horse replaced on British railways. The Scarab used a 2090cc engine for both 3 and 6 ton variants, though a diesel version was also launched. It was also more stable than its predecessor, with a lower mounted engine aiding the centre of gravity. Scarab production continued through to 1967, a 19-year lifespan, before it was replaced by the short-lived Townsman. The Townsman was a 3-ton vehicle, the 6-ton Scarab was replaced by more conventional vehicles. It had a fiberglass body and improved driver controls. It could also reach speeds of 50 miles per hour. Late 1960s legislation requiring braking on all wheels for goods vehicles meant the rear braking only Townsman was now redundant, and production ceased in 1968. Only 30 mechanical horses, 60 Scarabs and 30 Townsmans are known to survive of the 30,000 produced spanning 35 years. Scammell themselves became a subsidiary of Leyland Motors in 1955. In 1986, Dutch truck manufacturer DAF bought the Leyland Group, and closed Scammell's plant in 1988, simultaneously opening a new factory for Scammell support and spares. My fix on the axle support wasn't perfect, but it will be obscured by the axle ends. If it looks terrible closer to completion, I'll go back and rectify it. The wooden slat detailing on the trailer looks superb though, and it'll look great back in a wooden colour. Now though, I spray on the TS8 Italian red on the Scarab. The model replaced an earlier version of the Scarab-based Mechanical Horse and trailer at 10A in 1957. This had been made from 1955 and measured just 2¼ inches or 56mm in length. All were similarly red with a grey trailer and had crimped axles. Gold trim was applied to the cab. The easiest way to tell the two apart, aside from the obvious size difference, is the mudguards on the 10B trailer. Early 10Bs were dark red or maroon, and all came with a metal single front wheel. Axle ends continued to be crimped, with metal wheels attached. Again, gold trim was the norm. Eventually the metal trailer wheels and the rear cab wheels were switched to grey plastic. By now, axles had domed ends and the gold trim had been switched to a more conventional silver, which is what I'm applying here to mine. The 10B Mechanical Horse and trailer, a great casting in itself, was replaced by one of my all-time favourite commercial castings in late 1960, the 10C Foden 15-ton sugar container, which I restored back in July 2019. Finally, after crimping the front axle back on, I topped the axle ends with chrome. So here's how the Mechanical Horse presented when I picked it up. It was looking very different in its more modern British rail yellow. It looks like it's been painted to fit in with someone's train set. It was a bit patchy, and some paint had spilled over onto the plastic wheels. This model really leapt out to me to restore it faithfully. This Scammell Scarab was a bit of a dark horse with plenty of potential. Now though, it is the pride of the paddock. Back in its original intended colours, the Mechanical Horse looks as authentic as I could get it. After stuffing up the axle by knocking out a support, my fix blends in fairly well I think, and it is mostly obscured by the crimped axle end. But how much better does the trailer look now in tan? It really suits, and the slightly matte finish gives it a nice natural look. As always, the axle ends have been chromed up, and I've also chromed the front bumper and the Scammell badge in the front. So if you have enjoyed this restoration, leave a like, leave a comment, and hit the subscribe button, and ring the bell if you haven't already. Make sure you check out my Patreon to help lend a hand to keep the channel going, and my Instagram for all my latest. That just leaves me to say thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.